For the fourth consecutive year in Shelby County, we will have a team competing for a state championship, and for the third consecutive year, the Thompson Warriors will be competing in the Class 7A state championship game this Wednesday night as they head down to Tuscaloosa to take on the Auburn Tigers there in Bryant-Denny Stadium for what's going to be an exciting night for Thompson football yet again for the third year in a row, and for the second year in a row looking to win a state championship. And if you look right over my shoulder here, they have two state championships in school history, one in 1982 and one last year in 2019, their first time back to a state championship game since that 1982 season. And the Warriors closed it off in strong fashion with a dominant win against Central Phoenix City in that title game last year. And here they are again, set to take on Auburn High School in the state championship this year, looking for their first repeat in school history, something that's so difficult to do in any sport, and it just shows where this Thompson football program is. So on this week's show, welcome in everybody to the Shelby County High School Football Show. I'm Alec Etheridge, the managing editor here at the Shelby County Reporter. We're going to get you ready for the big state championship game as the Thompson Warriors get prepared to repeat as Class 7A state champions. Obviously, a lot of work has gone in during a difficult and crazy season this year amid COVID-19, but the Warriors have played every game on their schedule, as had everybody in their region this year as well. It's truly remarkable to see what they were able to accomplish on the football field this year, and they came into the season with a one-track mind, repeating as state champions in the 7A classifications. They knew that they were going to get everybody's best shot this year. There was no doubt about that. We've seen Thompson kind of turn the page here in the state when it comes to a dynasty, and they've really become that team on top the last couple of years that has become the team that everybody wants to knock off. They're tired of seeing Thompson win football games, but the Warriors don't care. They're here to stay with what we've seen the last few years, and that's a testament to head coach Mark Freeman, his staff. Defensive coordinator Sean DeFore has done some tremendous things here, as well as the entire staff here at Thompson High School to get this team to where they are. And you look at both sides of the ball, they're dominating on each side this season. That's going to be a key, obviously, going into this game as they continue to play great football, something that's just become a tradition here over the last few years. And you look back to 2014, a team that was 0-10 that season. Mark Freeman came in, went 5-5 his first two seasons here at Thompson, but has since bounced back and led this team to the semifinals of the playoffs each year after that, and now to three consecutive state championship games. Obviously, 2 years ago, didn't pan out the way that they had hoped it would, as they do lose to Central Phoenix City in that game, but last year came back, got redemption. They won the state championship a season ago, and here they are again with another shot at a state title. And that's one of the reasons we're here at Warrior Stadium to preview this show. One of the reasons we chose this spot. Normally you'll see me across the other end of the field, but you had to put into perspective those two state championships in school history. You look at this program, how many years it spans, and in that time to only have two, and now they have a chance to win that many in 2 years. It's just remarkable to see where this program is as a whole. But it's going to come with a tough test this week. They're taking on Auburn High School there out of Auburn, Alabama. Kind of funny, you got the Auburn Tigers, the high school version, going into Bryant-Denny after the Auburn Tigers. Auburn University lost there to Alabama in the Iron Bowl this past Saturday, but that's a different story. As we prepare for this state championship game, you look at what Auburn's done on the football field this year. In particular, it's been their defense. Their defense has been lights out for the majority of the season, giving up right around 13 points per game so far this season. And in the playoffs, they've been even better than that. You look at what they've done in that span of play, and it's just been dominant the way that they've played so far in the playoffs this year. They're actually giving up 12.2 points per game overall this season on the defensive side of the ball, and have given up 17 or less in 9 of their 13 games this season. So this is a defense, that's what they've relied on. They have a solid offense. They can move the ball, and they've shown that at different times throughout this season. But for the most part, it's been the defense that's really carried them, especially in the playoffs. You look at a 39-3 win in the first round against Baker. Then you look into the second round. They beat Daphne 13-7, and that's where you truly see that their defense can make a difference in the game. Their offense has an off night. The defense can step up and be the difference maker there in a win like that. and then against Central Phoenix City in the semifinals, held them to 17 points and win that game 35-17. And that's a team that had really dominated the south portion of the bracket the last few years. And so for Auburn to come up big in that semifinal matchup and continue to play strong defense against a very talented offense that Central Phoenix City poses, that just is a testament to what they've been able to do throughout the season. Like I said, giving up just 12.2 points per game on the defensive side of the football, and that's going to be their key coming into this matchup. It's an offense that's averaging right around 36, 37 points per game so far this season, but they've had some off nights at times, and while they've beaten Central Phoenix City twice this season and they've played a difficult schedule, you look at that game against Daphne where they win just 13-7. The offense has an off night, and while your defense was able to lead you to a win in that game by giving up just 7 points, against Thompson, you're going to have to be playing well on both sides of the ball, and your offense in particular is going to have to be playing well, because no matter the defense that Thompson's seen this season, they've taken on some of the best in the state. I mean, you look at the rankings there in Class 7A, and Region 3 had the top 3 spots at the end of the regular season. Hewitt-Trussville at number 3, Hoover at number 2, and Thompson at number 1. And Thompson beat 2 and 3 in the last 2 weeks of the playoffs, and they beat them twice this season, both of which had good defenses this year. You just look at what this offense has been able to do when it comes to tackling the toughest of defenses throughout the season. Thompson's been right there ready to roll on the offensive side of the ball. And you look at the last few years, Talia Tungavailoa, the first 2 years here, that they were able to have success and make it to the semifinals back-to-back years, and that first trip to a state championship game since 1982. And then last year, Sawyer Pate steps in, takes over at quarterback, and this offense continues to roll. And now you flash forward to this year, and you've got junior quarterback Connor Harrell, and there was a little bit more unknown because Harrell wasn't your prototypical stand-in-the-pocket, big kind of presence there at quarterback. He's more of a guy that can really just make a bunch of plays and extend plays both with his legs and with his arm, and that's what's been impressive to watch. And he's truly comfortable in the pocket. He's not as big of a quarterback, but he's comfortable in the pocket and can step up and make some big plays down the field, and it's been remarkable to watch. The guy's got near 3,500 yards as a junior, more than 30 touchdown passes this season, also running the ball extremely well with his legs. So he's just done it all on the offensive side so far this season. And you look at that success and what he's been able to do, and you look at the talent around him as well. This is an offense that's been just unbelievable to watch so far this season. It's a side of the ball that's scoring more than 40 points per game, close to 45 points per game so far this season. And you look at how many times they've scored more than 40 this year. They've scored 31 or more in every game, and I believe they've scored 40 or more in around 8 of their 13 games. So just remarkable to see what they've been able to do on that side of the ball. And the reason they're able to do it, not only do you have Harrell at the quarterback position, but you look around at what he's got standing next to him at really every position on that side of the ball. First off, he's got one of the best offensive lines in the state, but he's also got Jarrett Crockett at running back, who was injured earlier this season but has bounced back from that and just been lights out so far in the second half of the season, running for over 100 yards in just about every game, and is a true workhorse, can really carry the load, physical, and if they get a lead, they're going to lean heavily on him. And against Hoover, he was the difference maker. He had more than 200 yards rushing in that game, was a true difference maker on the field. And that was just Thompson taking what Hoover was giving them, and that's how this team works. They can make those kind of adjustments. They can come in with different game plans. They can come in with no game plan and just see what the defense is going to give them. And the offense is talented enough, and they know the playbook well enough that they can make those plays and adjust the game plan if they need to on the fly. So that's what's impressive to watch about this team. But beyond the running back position and quarterback position, you look at the wide receivers, and that's where this team truly flourishes. You look at Ryan Pepins, a guy that's a speedster, that can just run straight by the secondary and linebackers. You look at J.B. Mitchell, can make plays after the catch, can make plays down the field, catching the ball in coverage. Then you've also got Sam Reynolds, another speedy guy, Trey Roberson, another physical, talented receiver. This is a team, you look at, you could have 2 receivers on both sides of the ball. You have a running back that you trust to go over 100 yards. At the high school level, I don't care how talented you are, It's just so difficult to find enough players on the defensive side of the ball, especially to compete for an entire game, that can shut down that much talent, because all of those guys are going to go on to play Division I college football here in the next year or two. So that's what makes this offense so dynamic. That's what's made them the best team in the state so far this season, and arguably the best offense they've had in the last 4 years, despite having so much success with Talia Tungavailoa, with Sawyer Payton, those guys the last couple of years. This is the most balanced they've been across the line. As far as you've got 4 receivers, you've got a running back, and you even trust a couple other guys to run the ball as well, in addition to a solid offensive line. So they've just got so much balance. They can trust spread out across the field everybody on the offensive side of the ball, and that's what makes them so dangerous and so difficult to stop. So even against this difficult Auburn defense, you would expect that Thompson's going to find a way to do what they've done in every game this season, and that's score points. This is an offense that's built to score points. They're so quick to get up to the ball. They know how to draw up the right plays, and then they look at the coverage and they look to the sideline. If there's something else that needs to be called, they're going to figure out what it is, and most of the time it's going to work. And the thing is, even if you get in a 3rd and long situation, you still trust this offense is likely going to get a first down. And to have that kind of trust, that's what leads you to a state championship game, to be able to convert 3rd downs, to be able to continue drives and sustain drives and score on just about every drive that you have the football. That's the kind of stuff that leads to a state championship, and that's why you're going to see Auburn have a difficult time stopping this offense. So it's really going to come down to, can Auburn score points on the offensive side of the ball themselves to keep up with the Thompson offense? And that's where you see some more difficulty, because this is a Thompson defense that's been one of the best in the state this year, giving up just around 14 points per game, and it's been lights out for the majority of the season. And you look at what they've done just in the postseason alone. They gave up 7 in the first round to a 49-7 win against Grissom, gave up just 16 to Hewitt-Trussville, and we all know what Hewitt-Trussville is able to do offensively. And same with Hoover in the semifinals, and they win that game 52-14, and that's all you really need to know. And I know Hoover was plagued with injuries, plagued with COVID-19 in that semifinal matchup, but that's the powerhouse of the state in over the last couple of decades. I mean, you look over the last 20 years, it's been Hoover and everybody else chasing them, and for Thompson to come out and just lay the hammer down in a 52-14 victory in the semifinals of the 7A playoffs, they're not scared. They're ready to repeat as state champions, and right now it looks like they should be the favorites going into this matchup. But the Warriors so far this season, their defense giving up 16 or less in 8 games this season and 9 or less in 6 games this season, with a couple of shutouts so far as well. So this is a defense giving up 14.9 points per game. You look at Jeremiah Alexander, you look at Jax Van Zant, you look at Tristan Woody, linebackers there that are just dominant at that position. You look back in the secondary, Gavin Shipman, you've got Tony Mitchell, who's really been the most impressive player, and most improved player arguably on the team. And I know this is a kid that had a ton of Division I offers as a freshman last year for Thompson, but you see where he's come. He's a guy that really can line up and play anywhere in the secondary, and you can even slide him up into the linebacker position at times. He's a very physical kind of defensive back in coverage that can break up plays, but he can also come out of like a safety position and make a big hit to break up a pass as well. And he's been one of the most fun and entertaining players to watch this season, as has Jeremiah Alexander, one of the best linebackers in the country. But you look beyond that, this is a team on that side of the ball. They're still kind of young. I mean, you look at the talent that they have there. A lot of these guys are still young, still proving themselves, and they've gotten so much better since the first game of this season. And probably the best thing is they've stayed healthy. Now, I know they lost Peter Woods, who was going to be a big player for them this year. That was a tough blow for them early in the season, but the defense has recovered from that. They've got guys that have stepped up on the defensive line, and they have one of the best back ends in defense in the state when it comes to linebackers back into the secondary. So this is a Thompson defense you don't expect to give up a ton of points. And you look at Auburn struggling to score against Daphne and against some of the better teams they've played this season, early in the year against Park Crossing, against Central Phoenix City in the regular season. Didn't score a ton of points in those games, and in order to be, you have to imagine Thompson's going to get to close to 30 points. I would say between 30 and 45 points in this game. So if you're Auburn, you've got to find a way to have some offensive rhythm in this game. And if you can't do it throwing the football against such a good secondary, you've got to find a way to run the football, and that's what's so difficult. They're just so balanced across the entire defense, stopping the run, getting pressure in the backfield. It's just going to be tough to find a rhythm on that side of the ball, at least enough of a rhythm to keep up with that dynamic Thompson offense. And I think at the end of the day, that's got to be what makes the difference in this football game. You've got to feel good about what Thompson brings to the table. They're the defending state champions. They came into the season with one goal in mind, they wanted to be 10 steps ahead of everybody else who thought they were going to be 10 steps ahead of them. So they were just battling through the mental side of that, having to be twice as prepared as the other team, knowing you're going to get the best shot of everybody coming in to play you. And that's going to be the same mentality going into this state championship game. They don't seem to, I don't know how to phrase this as far as they don't seem worried. I think that they're a confident football team, I guess is what you would say. You look at how they react to their big plays. It's almost like they know they're coming, and they've got that mentality that the other team needs to prove themselves that worthy to beat them. And that's just an outsider's perspective. They're a very confident football team because they know how much talent they have, but they also know how much work they've put in throughout the week. Mark Freeman's the head coach here at Thompson's not going to let them take a play off, not going to let them lose that focus throughout the week. And as soon as they do, there's going to be some repercussions there as far as getting ready for the game. So this is a team that works so hard during the offseason, even throughout everything that's happened this year, and then they worked even harder during the season, not only during games, but during game week and prep, and that's the same thing going into this state championship game. A week and a half to prepare. You wonder how that little bit of a time gap is going to affect them, but this is a team that's worked every day since that semifinal win against Hoover. No off days when you're preparing to win a second state championship in a row. A lot of talent here at Thompson High School, even more work going into their game plan for the Auburn Tigers from that talent. So that's what's impressive from this football team. We'll see how they're able to handle it, but you've got to feel good. They're the defending state champions. Until somebody knocks them off, they're the favorite as the number one team going into this matchup, and they've looked like it on the field for the majority of the year. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this one. We'll be down there in Tuscaloosa on Wednesday night to see how the Thompson Warriors handle it. Obviously, we saw what happened last year. It was a lot of fun, a lot of excitement surrounding that. It's going to be a little bit different of an atmosphere this year with COVID-19, but we know that Alabaster does a great job of showing up for high school football games. They really packed Jordan-Hare Stadium the last 2 years in the state championship. Now only have to drive an hour versus driving 2 hours down to Auburn. With going to Tuscaloosa this year, you imagine that there's going to be as many Thompson fans as they'll let in the building down there in Tuscaloosa on Wednesday night for that state championship game. We'll see you all there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully be able to bring you a Facebook Live video before the game, previewing everything, kind of giving you a feel for the atmosphere and the excitement ahead as we build up toward that game. We'll see what the restrictions and guidelines allow us to do once we get down there. But nonetheless, going to be an exciting night to cover that game. Excited to be there and join all of you on that ride as we look to see if the Thompson Warriors can repeat as state champions and add one more number right up there behind me that says 2020.